5 seconds. That is all I need. What if the nicest person you know is also the most quietly suffering person you know? Stay right there. This video is about to change how you see yourself completely. And before we go any further, if you are new here, subscribe right now and turn on the bell. We go deep on psychology and the hidden truths about human behavior that most people never talk about. Now let us get into it. The trap nobody warns you about. Being nice feels safe. It feels like the right thing to do. The moral thing. The thing that keeps the peace, maintains the relationships, and makes you someone people want to be around. From childhood you were rewarded for it. Be nice. Be kind. Do not cause trouble. Think about how other people feel. Put others first. And so you did. You became the person who always showed up. Who always said yes. Who swallowed the discomfort so nobody else had to feel it. Who kept the peace even when the peace was costing you everything. And here is what nobody told you. There is a version of nice that is genuine. Rooted in strength, in compassion, in a real desire to contribute to the people around you. That kind of nice is beautiful and the world genuinely needs more of it. And then there is another version. A version that looks identical from the outside but is built on something completely different underneath. Built on fear. On the desperate need for approval. On the terror of conflict. On the belief that your worth is conditional on how useful and agreeable and unthreatening you can make yourself to everyone around you. That version of nice is not a virtue. It is a survival strategy. And like all survival strategies that outlive their original purpose, it eventually starts to cost more than it protects. Today we are going to talk about exactly what it costs. And what to do about it. Nobody is born a people pleaser. It is learned. And it is almost always learned in response to a specific environment. Maybe you grew up in a home where conflict was dangerous. Where anger meant something frightening was about to happen. Where keeping the peace was not just preferred but necessary for safety. And so you became the child who never caused trouble. Who read the room before they entered it. Who made themselves as agreeable as possible because disagreeable meant dangerous. Maybe you grew up in an environment where love was conditional. Where approval was given when you performed well and withdrawn when you did not. Where being good enough meant being nice enough. And so you learned to tie your sense of worth to how well you could meet everyone else's expectations. Maybe you were simply sensitive. More aware than most of how other people were feeling. More affected by tension and conflict. And so you took on the job of managing everyone else's emotional state because the alternative, letting people feel bad, felt unbearable. Whatever the origin story, the result is the same. A person who has learned to prioritize everyone else's comfort over their own truth. Who has become so skilled at being what other people need that they have lost track of what they themselves actually are. The dark side nobody talks about. Here is where we get into the part of this conversation that most nice people have never heard said out loud. Being too nice has a dark side. And it is darker than most people expect. The first dark side is hidden resentment. When you consistently give more than you receive. When you say yes when you mean no. When you absorb other people's moods and problems and demands without ever expressing your own needs, the resentment builds. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. Layer by layer. Under the surface of all the smiling and the accommodating and the keeping the peace. And that resentment does not stay contained forever. It leaks. Into passive aggression. Into sudden disproportionate anger over something small. Into a coldness that arrives without explanation. Into the slow withdrawal from relationships you used to pour everything into. The nicest people in the room are often carrying the most resentment. Because they have never been given permission or given themselves permission to say what they actually need. The second dark side is that it attracts the wrong people. This is one of the most painful truths in this entire video. People who are excessively nice become magnets for people who take. Takers are extraordinarily good at identifying givers. They find them in every room. They are drawn to the warmth, the availability, the unconditional yes. And they stay as long as the giving continues. This is why many people pleasers find themselves surrounded by relationships that feel one-sided. By friendships where they are always the one who reaches out. By partnerships where their needs are consistently secondary. By colleagues who delegate their discomfort in the direction of the person least likely to push back. The too nice person often ends up lonely in the middle of a full social life. Because the people around them are relating to their usefulness, not their humanity. The third dark side is the loss of identity. When you spend years shaping yourself around what other people need from you, something happens to your sense of self. You stop knowing what you actually think. Because you have been so focused on what other people think that your own perspective has not had space to develop. You stop knowing what you actually want. Because wanting things for yourself has always felt selfish and dangerous and likely to disappoint someone. You stop knowing who you actually are outside of your role as the person who makes everything okay for everyone else. And when you finally stop, when illness or burnout or the collapse of a relationship forces the performing to pause, you find yourself standing in the silence, looking at your own life and realizing you have been a stranger to yourself for a very long time. That realization is one of the loneliest experiences a human being can have. Let us talk specifically about what being too nice does to your relationships. Because this is where the damage shows up most clearly. In friendships, being too nice creates an imbalance that eventually suffocates the connection. The too nice person gives. The other person receives. And over time the friendship stops being a genuine exchange between two people and becomes a dynamic where one person exists to support and the other exists to be supported. This is not sustainable. And it almost never ends well. Either the nice person burns out and disappears without explanation because they never learned how to have the direct conversation, or the friendship slowly dies as the resentment builds and the nice person gradually stops showing up. In romantic relationships, the cost is even higher. People pleasers tend to choose partners based on who needs them rather than who genuinely sees and values them. They confuse being needed with being loved. And they stay long past the point of healthy, not because the relationship is good but because leaving would mean disappointing someone. Would mean conflict. Would mean being the bad person. And being the bad person is the thing the people pleaser has spent their entire life organizing their behavior to avoid. So they stay. They absorb. They accommodate. They slowly disappear inside relationships that were never built on the foundation of their own genuine needs being met. At work, the cost is professional and personal simultaneously. The too nice person takes on more than their share. They absorb the tasks nobody else wants. They never negotiate for what they deserve because asking feels aggressive. They watch less capable but more assertive colleagues advance while they remain quietly indispensable and consistently overlooked. And they smile through all of it. Because that is what nice people do. If this is landing somewhere real for you, if you are recognizing yourself in any of this, I want you to do two things right now. First, share this video with the nicest person you know and comment "I can relate." Because they need to hear this more than almost anyone. Second, if you are not yet subscribed, hit that button right now. We cover the psychology behind human behavior, relationships, and self-understanding in a way that actually helps you make real changes. Subscribe. Turn on the bell. And let us keep going. The psychology behind being too nice. Psychologists have a term for the pattern we have been describing. It is called fawning. And it sits alongside fight, flight and freeze as one of the primary trauma responses the human nervous system uses to stay safe. Fawning is the response of making yourself maximally agreeable, helpful, and unthreatening in the presence of a perceived threat. In childhood, when the threat was a volatile parent or an unpredictable environment, fawning was genuinely adaptive. It kept you safe. It reduced the danger. It was a brilliant survival mechanism for the situation you were in. The problem is that the nervous system does not automatically update when the situation changes. When you leave the original threatening environment, the fawn response comes with you. It gets applied to situations that do not require it, to relationships that are not dangerous, to conflicts that are completely manageable, to opportunities that only require you to simply ask. The body is still responding to an old threat that no longer exists. And so the person who needed to be maximally agreeable at 7 years old is still being maximally agreeable at 35. Still shrinking in the same ways. Still silencing themselves in the same moments. Still choosing everyone else's comfort over their own truth, not because the situation demands it, but because the nervous system never got the update that the situation changed. Understanding this is important. Not as an excuse, but as a compassionate explanation. The excessive niceness was not a weakness. It was intelligence applied to the wrong timeline. The work now is to update the timeline. The signs you are too nice. Let me get specific. Here are the signs that being nice has crossed the line into something that is costing you. You apologize constantly. For things that are not your fault. For taking up space. For having needs. For existing in ways that might inconvenience someone. You feel responsible for how everyone around you feels. If someone in the room is upset, you assume it is because of something you did. And you immediately begin working to fix it. You cannot say no without a detailed explanation. A simple no feels too aggressive, so you wrap it in apologies and justifications and alternative offers until the no barely resembles itself. You feel physically uncomfortable when someone is disappointed in you. Not just a little uncomfortable. Genuinely distressed. As if their disappointment is a verdict on your worth as a person. You stay in situations that are not working because leaving would require a difficult conversation, and difficult conversations feel like one of the most threatening things in the world. You have a strong internal reaction to this video, but your first instinct is to make an excuse for why it does not quite apply to you. Because fully admitting it would require change. And change is uncomfortable. And uncomfortable is something nice people have been trained to avoid. How to heal from being too nice. The goal is not to become mean. The goal is not to stop caring about other people or to become indifferent to their experience. The goal is to become someone who is kind from strength rather than nice from fear. Someone who gives because they genuinely want to, not because they are terrified of what happens if they do not. Here is how that shift begins. The first step is to recognize the difference between genuine kindness and fear-based niceness. Genuine kindness feels free, light, chosen. You give because it aligns with your values and because you have the genuine capacity to give in that moment. Fear-based niceness feels obligatory, heavy, unchosen. You give because not giving feels dangerous. Because the consequences of saying no feel worse than the cost of saying yes. Learning to feel the difference in your own body in real time, in actual situations, is the beginning of everything. The second step is to practice the pause. Before automatically saying yes to any request, pause. Ask yourself one question. If I say yes to this, am I doing it from genuine desire or from fear of the consequences of saying no? You do not have to change your answer immediately. Just start noticing. The awareness itself begins to shift the pattern. The third step is to let people have their disappointment. This is the hardest one. And it is the most essential. When you say no, someone may be disappointed. When you set a limit, someone may be upset. When you stop automatically absorbing everything, someone may notice and react. Let them. Their disappointment is not your emergency. Their upset is not your fault. Their reaction to you having needs is information about them, not a verdict on your worth. The people who genuinely care about you will adjust. The people who only wanted your availability will leave. Both of those outcomes are better than the alternative of spending the rest of your life performing niceness at the cost of your own truth. The fourth step is to build a relationship with your own needs. Start small. What do you actually want for dinner? What do you actually think about the decision being made? What do you actually need from this relationship to feel genuinely valued? Ask the questions. Sit with the answers. Then, and this is where the real growth happens, begin to voice them. Quietly at first. Imperfectly. With all the awkwardness that comes from doing something for the first time that should have started years ago. Every time you voice a genuine need instead of suppressing it, you are rebuilding the relationship with yourself that the people-pleasing eroded. You are choosing yourself without abandoning your compassion. You are becoming someone who is genuinely kind, not because they are afraid of the consequences of being anything else, but because kindness is something they freely choose. That is a completely different person. And it is a completely different life. Let me bring this home. Being nice is not the problem. The world genuinely needs kind, caring, compassionate people. Do not let this video convince you that softness is a weakness or that caring about others is something to fix. What needs to change is the foundation that the niceness is built on. Nice from fear costs you your identity, your relationships, your health, and your life direction. Kind from strength costs you nothing and gives you everything. The dark side of being too nice is not actually about niceness at all. It is about the wound underneath it. The belief absorbed so young you cannot remember learning it that your worth is conditional. That love is something you earn through performance. That your needs are less important than your usefulness to others. That belief is not the truth. It was never the truth. It was a conclusion drawn by a young mind trying to make sense of an environment that did not know how to show you unconditionally that you were enough. You were enough then. You are enough now. Not because of how much you give or how agreeable you are or how little trouble you cause. Simply because you exist. And when you finally believe that, really believe it, in your body, not just your mind, the niceness that was built on fear quietly transforms into something real. Something chosen. Something that does not cost you yourself to give. That is the version of kind the world actually needs from you. And it starts the moment you decide that your own truth is worth protecting. If this video reached something real in you today, I want you to do 3 things. Like this video so more people can find it. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you are not yet subscribed, hit that button right now and turn on the bell notification. We cover psychology, self-awareness, and the real conversations that create real change. Every single week. See you next tomorrow.